It feels surreal because my daughter's here. Absolutely.
The way she's posing, I'm
She
like,
was ready.
She was ready.
She is ready.
Absolutely.
Blue Ivy at the Met Gala was quite strange, and everyone's been talking about it because it seemed that Beyonce was auctioning off Blue.
Blue Ivy walked the Met Gala red carpet at just 13 years old, and the internet has not stopped talking since. For most kids her age, the biggest fashion decision is what to wear to school. But there she was, draped in a gown, escorted by her parents, at one of the most exclusive events in the world. That image hit differently. What made it sting even more was how deliberate it all felt. Beyonce had not attended the Met Gala in a full decade. The moment she returned, as co-chair no less, she brought her daughter along for the ride. Not backstage, not watching from home, front and center. And then came the comment that broke the internet. Beyonce looked at her daughter and said she's ready.
She was ready.
She was ready.
She is ready.
Ready for what exactly? That question lit a fire nobody was prepared for. Here is something most people forget. The Met Gala has a strict age policy. You have to be 18 or older just to get through the door. Kim Kardashian tried bringing Northwest this very same year. Anna Wintour said no. No exceptions, no negotiations. The rules are the rules. Except apparently for Blue Ivy. Beyonce's co-chair status reportedly opened that door wide open. Some called it a mother's privilege, but a growing number of people called it something else entirely. An introduction, a presentation, a passing of the torch to someone who never asked to hold it. When a child gets a special exemption to enter a room that bars every other child, you have to ask why. Privilege is one answer, but when you factor in everything else that happened that night, privilege starts to feel like the least interesting explanation. Let's rewind because this moment did not come out of nowhere. Back in 2023, Blue Ivy performed on Beyonce's Renaissance tour, and the backlash was immediate. Critics were not upset that a talented kid took the stage. They were disturbed by the choreography, movements that felt years ahead of her age, performed in front of thousands of recording phones. Beyonce's team brushed off the criticism. Fans called the concerned voices haters, but those voices were quietly noting a pattern. A young girl being pushed into adult spaces faster than any child should be. It was not the first signal, it would not be the last. Then came the Lion King premiere in 2024. Blue was 12, styled to look 20. Fake nails, a dress designed for a grown woman. Comments flooded in from all corners. Let children be children. Some things you simply cannot unsee. Katt Williams did not mince words. Long before the Met Gala became a flashpoint, he had been raising alarms about how the entertainment industry targets young people, specifically young black talent, and pulls them into rituals most adults would never agree to if they truly understood the cost. People laughed it off. They called it conspiracy, they called it clout chasing. Then the footage of Blue Ivy at the Met started circulating. Suddenly, Williams did not sound so far-fetched. He went further. He claimed Blue had already been initiated, and that the machine was simply revealing what it had already done. Bold claim, impossible to prove, but eerily consistent with a pattern the public had been watching build for years. What Williams understands better than most is how visibility works in this industry. Fame is not given freely, it is exchanged, and someone always decides what gets traded away. Tokyo Toni did not hold back either. Blac Chyna's mother has never been known for subtlety, and when she weighed in on Beyonce and Blue Ivy, she came in swinging. She called Beyonce a devil. She accused her of using Blue as a prop, a tool to generate income and, in her words, destroy black children in the process. Strong language, inflammatory even. The internet turned on Tokyo almost instantly. People told her to stay in her lane, to keep Blue's name out of her mouth, to focus on her own family before commenting on someone else's. Fair points, honestly. Tokyo is not exactly a model of restraint or credibility. But here is the uncomfortable part. Strip away the theatrics, and her core question was the same one thousands of ordinary people were already asking. Why is this child being placed in these rooms? Tokyo doubled down shortly after in an interview with Real Life Productions. This time she pulled Jay-Z into the conversation. She claimed both he and Beyonce operate as though accountability simply does not apply to them, that their power has insulated them so long they have forgotten consequences exist. She predicted their exposure was coming, and sooner than anyone expected. Now, prophecy from Tokyo Toni is not exactly breaking news. She makes bold claims the way most people make small talk, but the timing was striking. She was saying this before the Met Gala happened, before the internet spiral, before Katt Williams amplified the conversation to a national audience. Sometimes the loudest, least credible voice in the room is still pointing at a real thing. The messenger being flawed does not automatically make the message wrong. That is worth sitting with. Beyonce's outfit choices that night deserve their own conversation. She did not show up in something glamorous and forgettable. Her first look referenced a 1944 lithograph by Creole artist Caroline Durand-Ruel-Rose, a piece called The Visitor, depicting death personified as an elegant gowned feminine figure ringing a door. Death, dressed beautifully, knocking to be let in. You can call it high fashion. You can call it artistic homage. But when a mother shows up to introduce her daughter to the world wearing a dress that symbolizes death, people are going to draw conclusions. Symbolism is a language, and Beyonce has always been fluent in it. Her second outfit only deepened the tension. Crystal patterns that some call satanic symbols hidden in plain view. Long claw-like nails styled by her team. Every detail felt intentional, because with Beyonce it always is. Nothing is accidental, nothing is random. Here is where the Sasha Fierce theory entered the room. For years, Beyonce described her alter ego as something she stepped into when she performed a separate, fiercer, untouchable version of herself. She famously said she retired Sasha Fierce back in 2010, claiming she no longer needed her because the two had merged. But observers at the Met Gala noticed something unsettling. Beyonce appeared subdued, nervous, even fragile. Meanwhile, Blue Ivy moved through that room with a confidence that felt borrowed from somewhere else. Shoulders back, unbothered, magnetic. Several people online noted it independently before it became a talking point. Blue looked like she was wearing something her mother used to carry. Whether you believe in spiritual energy or not, the optics were undeniable. One woman seemed to be fading into the background of her own event. The other was just getting started. Make of that what you will. There is a pattern in this industry that nobody likes to talk about out loud. Justin Bieber, Aaron Carter, Amanda Bynes, Orlando Brown, Corey Feldman. The names are different, but the story is always the same. Extraordinarily talented young people introduced to adult spaces before their minds and spirits were equipped to handle them, and then slowly, visibly dismantled by the very machine that built them up. None of their parents woke up one morning and decided to sacrifice their child's well-being for fame. Most of them genuinely believed they were creating opportunity. That is what makes this pattern so dangerous. It does not look like harm from the inside. It looks like love. It looks like investment. It looks like giving your child every advantage you never had. By the time the damage surfaces, the machine has already moved on to the next one. And the cycle continues without interruption. Katt Williams went further than most when he brought Kevin Hart into the conversation. His argument was specific and pointed. Hart had been loudly, publicly vocal for years about never wearing a dress. He made it part of his brand, part of his identity, the line he would never cross. Then the SNL opportunity arrived. And without hesitation, Hart crossed it. Williams did not frame this as a fashion choice or a comedy bit. He framed it as a transaction. Proof that Hart understood exactly what wearing that dress would unlock for his career, and he made the calculation without flinching. Whether you agree with Williams or not, the underlying observation is hard to dismiss entirely. Hollywood has a long documented history of using public humiliation as a gatekeeping mechanism. The question Williams keeps asking is not whether it happens, it is who decides when it is your turn. The Ludacris story hit differently. Williams claimed that he and Ludacris were both invited to what he described as an Illuminati meeting. Same room, same offer, same moment of decision. One of them walked out, the other accepted a deal reportedly worth $200 million. Structured across 20 films at $10 million each. Williams says he was the one who left. Ludacris, he claims, was the one who stayed. And shortly after that meeting, Ludacris cut the signature sideburns that had defined his image for years, a detail Williams described as part of the terms of the agreement, a small thing, an almost unnoticeable thing, unless you were looking for it. People can debate whether any of this is literally true, but the structure of the story, give up something that defines you in exchange for access, maps onto experiences that dozens of former industry insiders have described independently. That pattern is not invented. Pull back far enough and a clear picture begins to emerge. This is not really about one red carpet appearance. It is not about a dress, or a headpiece, or a 13-year-old's shoes matching her mother's gown. Those are data points. The real story is about how power moves in this industry. quietly, incrementally, and always in plain sight. Each individual moment has a reasonable explanation. Blue attended because Beyonce was co-chair, the outfit was an artistic choice, the comment about being ready was a proud mother complimenting her daughter, taken alone, none of it is damning. Taken together across years of similar moments, a different picture starts to develop. That is exactly how these things work. Never one smoking gun, always a mosaic. And by the time most people step back far enough to see the full image, the next piece has already been placed. Stay alert, pay attention to the full picture, not just the frame. Let's talk about what co-chair actually means at the Met Gala, because most people glossed right over it. This is not an honorary title handed out for showing up. A co-chair helps shape the guest list, influences the theme, and carries real institutional weight inside one of the most gate-kept events on the planet. Anna Wintour does not hand that role to just anyone. So when Beyonce returned after 10 years of deliberate absence and accepted that position, she was not simply attending a party. She was being welcomed into the inner architecture of the event itself. That is a different kind of arrival. That is an elevation, not a reunion. And she brought her daughter into that elevated space on her very first night inside it. Not next year, not when Blue turns 18. The first night, timing in this world is never coincidental. It is always choreographed. The shoes became a detail nobody could let go of. Blue Ivy's footwear that evening did not match her own dress. It matched Beyonce's. Same color, same tone, same visual language. Fashion experts noted it immediately, and the symbolism was too specific to dismiss as a coincidence or a stylist oversight. In many cultures, a child wearing a parent's shoes carries deep symbolic weight. It signals succession. It signals readiness to walk a path the parent has already carved. Whether that symbolism was intentional or not almost does not matter, because once the image exists, it carries meaning regardless of what anyone intended when they got dressed that morning. Beyonce's entire career has been built on deliberate visual storytelling. Every frame of Lemonade was constructed with intention. Every tour costume tells a chapter of a larger story. The idea that her daughter's shoes were an accident strains credulity beyond its breaking point. Here is where it gets harder to dismiss every single thread we have pulled on in this video. The outfit symbolism, the age exception, the matching shoes, the Sasha Fierce transfer theory, Katt Williams warnings, the culture elevation. None of these originated with conspiracy accounts or fringe voices. These observations came from everyday people watching the same footage and arriving at the same unsettling questions independently. That collective pattern recognition matters. When thousands of unconnected people notice the same thing simultaneously, something real is being reflected back at us, even if we cannot name it precisely yet. If this video is making you think, do not sit with it alone. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you believe what happened at the Met Gala was deliberate? Has Blue Ivy already been pushed past the point of no return? The conversation happening below this video is just as important as anything said above it. What nobody has addressed directly is Blue Ivy's own agency in all of this. She is a child, yes, but she's also a child who has grown up entirely inside one of the most powerful entertainment empires ever built by a black woman. She has never known a life outside of cameras, stages, and carefully constructed public narratives. That context matters enormously. When a child grows up inside a machine, they do not experience it as a machine. They experience it as normal, as home. The grooming that outside observers find alarming often feels, from the inside, like preparation, like love, like being chosen for something special. That is precisely what makes this conversation so difficult and so necessary at the same time. The people most embedded in these systems are often the last ones to see them clearly. Blue Ivy may be talented, poised, and genuinely ready for a spotlight. The real question is, who decided that, and what did it cost? There is a version of this story where everything is completely innocent. A proud mother, returning to a legendary event after a decade away, wanted to share that milestone with her daughter. The outfits were artistic choices made by talented designers. The comment about Blue being ready was nothing more than maternal pride spilling out in front of a microphone. Happens every day. That version is available to anyone who wants it. And honestly, it is not an unreasonable interpretation. Beyonce has spent 30 years building one of the most disciplined, intentional careers in music history. She is also a mother. Those two things can coexist without a sinister third element forcing its way between them. But here is the problem with that clean version. It requires ignoring everything that came before that night. the Renaissance tour choreography, the Lion King premiere styling, the years of escalating public exposure for a child who never auditioned for any of it. The industry has shown us its playbook repeatedly, and it rarely changes. It finds the most gifted young people inside already famous families. It normalizes their presence in adult spaces gradually, one appearance at a time, until the boundary between childhood and performance dissolves so slowly nobody can point to the exact moment it disappeared. By the time the public starts asking uncomfortable questions, the transition is already complete. The child has already been repositioned. The machine has already extracted what it came for. And the parents, more often than not, genuinely believe they were doing right by their kid every step of the way. Katt Williams, Tokyo Tony, and the thousands of everyday people raising alarms about Blue Ivy may disagree on the details and the language, but they are all pointing at the same door, and that door has been opened for far too many young people who never found their way back through it. So here is where we land. Blue Ivy Carter is 13 years old. She is talented, poised, and by every visible measure, extraordinary. She did not choose the family she was born into, the industry that surrounds her, or the spotlight that has followed her since before she could walk. None of that was her decision. What happens next, however, will define not just her story, but the conversation this entire generation is willing to have about how we treat gifted children inside powerful systems. Silence has never protected a single young person in this industry. Attention, accountability, and honest conversation have imperfectly, inconsistently, but meaningfully.
Watch Blue Ivy, not to satisfy curiosity, not for the drama. Watch her the way you would want someone to watch any child navigating rooms built for adults, and if something ever looks wrong, say so out loud. The cost of speaking up is embarrassment. The cost of staying quiet has always been so much higher. This is not professional advice. Consult qualified experts for any personal, legal, or psychological concerns.